The 220-pound English Mastiff named Bear had been returned 3 times in 18 months. 3 families, 3 rejections, 3 trips back to the rescue. Each one said the same thing: too big, too quiet, too sad. He was 24 hours away from being labeled unadoptable when a 12-year-old girl in a Vegas Golden Knights jersey walked into the rescue parking lot, took one look at him through the chain link fence, and refused to leave without him. What happened in their house 6 months later proved every single rejection wrong. Bear was originally pulled from a roadside abandonment in rural Nevada. A trucker driving Highway 95 at 4:47 a.m. spotted what he thought was a fallen tree near mile marker 142. It wasn't. It was a 218-pound fawn-colored mastiff lying in a drainage ditch, ribs visible, nylon rope cut into his neck, eyes still open but completely empty. The trucker called animal control. Animal control called Sage Valley Rescue. By the time the volunteers arrived, Bear had not moved a single inch. His paperwork said he was 4 years old. His body said he had been used and discarded. The vet found scars from backyard breeding operations, calluses from concrete kennel floors, and an exhaustion no sleep could fix. The first family adopted him at 6 pounds heavier. They returned him after 11 days. He was too big for the apartment, they said. The second family kept him 3 weeks before bringing him back. Their words: he won't play, he won't run, he just lies on the floor and stares. The third family lasted only 6 days. Their reason hurt the most: he was depressing the kids. That's when Madison Carter and her parents drove the 43 miles from Henderson to meet the Mastiff nobody could love. Madison was 12 years old, sharp-eyed, quiet in the way kids who pay attention are quiet. She played hockey 3 times a week. She knew about pressure. She knew about being underestimated. And the moment she saw Bear sitting motionless in the rescue's outdoor pen, she walked straight to the fence and sat down on the gravel. She didn't reach through the wire. She didn't call him. She just sat there for 14 minutes, watching him. Then Bear stood up. All 220 pounds of him. He walked across the pen slowly, like every step was a question, and he pressed his enormous wrinkled forehead against the chain link fence directly in front of her face. The rescue coordinator told Amanda and Mark Carter that they had never seen Bear approach anyone, not once in 3 months. Madison didn't say anything. She just looked up at her parents with the expression every parent dreads and adores at the same time. They signed the papers 90 minutes later. The first night home, Bear didn't move from the spot where they led him in. He stood in the middle of the living room for 2 hours and 26 minutes, refusing to lie down, refusing to drink water, refusing to acknowledge the orthopedic dog bed Mark had bought that afternoon for $187. He looked like he was waiting for someone to take him back. Madison did something her parents didn't expect. She got her sleeping bag, dragged it onto the living room floor, and lay down 4 feet from Bear. She didn't touch him, she didn't speak to him, she just put her face on her pillow and closed her eyes. At 11:43 p.m., Bear finally lowered himself to the carpet, slowly, like a building settling onto its foundation. He didn't sleep next to her, but he didn't sleep alone either. The first week was a quiet inventory of everything Bear didn't know. He didn't know what stairs were. Mark had to carry him up to Madison's room the first 3 nights, all 220 pounds of him, one shaking trip at a time. Bear didn't recognize his own reflection in the hall mirror and growled at it for 2 straight days before deciding the other dog was not a threat. He flinched at the television, at the doorbell, at the sound of a dish set on the counter too quickly. But here's something the previous 3 families missed. Madison didn't try to fix any of it. She just kept showing up. I see you've been here this long without subscribing. That genuinely hurts. Hit subscribe so we can keep telling stories like Bear's. By week 5, something had shifted. Madison would walk into the kitchen and Bear would lift his head. By week 8, when she came home from hockey practice, Bear would walk to the door. By week 11, he was lying across her feet during homework. By week 14, he was climbing onto her bed at night, all 220 pounds of him compressing the mattress into something that resembled a small geological event. Amanda would check on Madison around 10 p.m. and find Bear's massive head resting on her daughter's chest, rising and falling with her breathing, his eyes finally closed. He still flinched at thunderstorms, he still hesitated at new doorways, but the empty thing in his eyes was gone. In its place was something the rescue coordinator described as recognition. Bear had finally figured out he belonged somewhere. Stories like this are exactly why we do what we do. What happened on a Saturday night in late February proved exactly how much. Madison had a severe asthma flare-up at 2:38 a.m. She tried to reach her inhaler on the nightstand and knocked it onto the carpet. She was struggling too hard to breathe to call for help. Bear, asleep across the foot of her bed, woke instantly. He didn't bark, he didn't whine. He stood up on the mattress, walked across to the bedroom door, and started slamming his entire body against it, hard, repeatedly. The sound was like furniture being thrown. Mark and Amanda were in their room 30 feet away. Amanda thought someone had broken in. Mark grabbed a flashlight and ran. They opened Madison's door to find Bear standing over her, his enormous head lowered to her face, breathing slow and steady like he was trying to remind her how. The inhaler was on the floor, exactly where Bear had pushed it back toward the bed with his nose. The pediatric pulmonologist later told the Carters that severe asthma attacks at night are one of the leading causes of child fatality. He asked how long Madison had struggled before they got there. Mark said maybe 40 seconds. The doctor went quiet for a moment. Then he said she got lucky. Madison's parents knew it wasn't luck. It was a 220-pound Mastiff who had been returned 3 times, dismissed as too sad and too much, and who had finally, in a stranger's bedroom in Henderson, Nevada, found something worth fighting for. Today, Bear is 6, Madison is 14. He still climbs into her bed at night, he still walks her to her father's truck before every hockey practice, he still flinches occasionally at the doorbell, but never for long, because Madison is always nearby, and that's apparently all he needs. The other day, Madison was going through old photos on her phone. She showed her mother a picture of Bear from his first day home, standing in the middle of the living room, refusing to lie down. She said something Amanda hasn't been able to stop thinking about. He thought we were going to give him back. That's why he wouldn't move. Some dogs aren't broken, they're just waiting for a family that won't quit on them. Bear waited 4 years. He spent 11 months in 3 different homes that didn't see him, and then a 12-year-old girl in a hockey jersey sat on the gravel outside a fence and decided that she was staying, no matter what. Because sometimes the dogs the world labels as too much are simply waiting for someone with the patience to recognize that they were never the problem in the first place. They were the answer. If you're thinking about adopting a returned dog, look closer, talk to the rescue, ask the right questions, be the family that doesn't give up. Because the broken ones aren't broken, they're just tired. Some stories deserve to be shared. Would you give a 220-pound Mastiff who has been returned 3 times a real chance? Or would you walk past his kennel like everyone else? Tell me in the comments.